and ensure that all land purchased as required documents. Honorable Speaker, matters of great concern is failure of the fund managers to submit the necessary documents for audit review at the time of the audit. The fund account managers are well trained, but they know all the documents that they are supposed to avail during the time of audit. But Honorable Speaker, more often than not, these documents are not availed. Further, Honorable Madam Speaker, the committees recommended that all the PMCs, the project managers, they are well trained and well versed on their law as the PMCs at the constituency level. Honorable Speaker, to prioritize proper audits, Honorable Speaker, the committee recommended that all the documents be availed at the time of audit. The committee further argues improved coordination between the Office of the Auditor General and the offices of the fund account managers. Honorable Speaker, the issue of stored and ongoing projects and pending projects which are left halfway is an issue that is very critical in proper accounting and at the same time prudent use of public resources. Honorable Speaker, the committee did recommend that for future, let the fund account managers allocate money sufficient to complete all the ongoing projects. Honorable Speaker, the NGCDF continues to be a critical vehicle for grassroots development. The implementation of the committee's recommendation as contained in this report will go a long way in ensuring that there is in the management and effectiveness of this very critical fund. It is worth noting, Honorable Madam Speaker, that among the tangible projects that are physically visible in our country across all constituencies are projects which are implemented using the NGCDF fund. Honorable Speaker, it is therefore very, very necessary that we ask all the MPs to do proper oversighting so that they can ensure that service delivery is timely to strengthen the accountability of this fund. Honorable Speaker, I second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that the House adopts the 5th report of the Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee on its consideration of the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund for 6 constituencies in Busia County, being Teso South, Matayos, Nambale, Funyula, Teso North, and Butula constituencies for the financial years 2013-2014, financial year 2014-2015, financial year 2015-2016, financial year 2016-2017, financial year 2017-2018, financial year 2018-2019, financial year 2019-2020, financial year 2020-2021, and financial year 2021-2022, laid on the table of this House on Thursday, 10th April 2025. Honorable Millie, you want to contribute before I put the question?
Madam Speaker, I presume you have proposed. Thank you. Madam Speaker, let me thank you for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the committee for that report in relation to NGCDF utilization in the constituencies in Busia County. Madam Speaker, I do note that the committee has concentrated especially on policy issues that will enhance efficiency and efficacy in delivery. Madam Speaker, I know that we have, when we were proposing amendments to the Constitution, we spoke to this issue. Some of us spoke, some didn't have an opportunity to speak. But I want to say, Madam Speaker, that indeed one of the things that Kenya needs to understand is that political theory informs development. And in Africa, we adopted certain political theories from the West, and some of them are not necessarily the right size or the right fit. We have a country that is very ethnicized. We have 42 tribes. I think now there are 44 tribes. And Madam Speaker, with the nature of our politics, sometimes you discover that if you come from opposition areas like the areas where some of us come from, then what it means is that you can spend over 40 years without seeing any national government fund. The only fund that we know that is guaranteed, especially in the sector of education and security, is the NGCDF fund. And I want to clarify, Madam Speaker, that even if the NGCDF fund were to be stopped from going to the constituencies, it will not go to the counties, because NGCDF funds are not devolved funds. They are funds, they are part of the national government fund. So even if the centralized system that the national government has adopted were to be withdrawn so that we move away from decentralization, then it means that that decision will solely be made at the national level. But right now, we have our own people making those decisions at the village levels through public participation. People are able to say what their needs are, and the MP is able to oversight and intervene where there is unfairness. Madam Speaker, I just wanted to raise one issue that this committee has talked to. I agree with them over the issue of land, that whenever we are doing work as CDF, as a national government, that land needs to have title. The biggest primary school in my constituency, which is called Usare, public primary school, when I joined as a member of parliament, there was a court order that the school be sold and given back to the original owner. And it's the biggest public primary school. And it was a court order. Why? Because when the land was being transferred, or when the school the person was donating, they never gave back, they never gave the title deed, or there was no transfer. And because of that, there are some people who become smart, their grandfathers or their fathers donate land. And after they have died, they turn and now want to claim that land, especially where land has appreciated in cost. Madam Speaker, one of the things I want to urge the committee to reconsider is the issue that they have said that all projects must be delivered within the same financial year. Madam Speaker, if that were the situation, then Suba North would not have a KMTC or Kenya Medical Training College. Suba North would not have a TTI. Suba North would not have a police divisional headquarters. Suba North would not have another sub-county headquarters. All projects that are more than 50 million each. Madam Speaker, it has been possible for Suba North to do that because of incremental allocation of resources. And those are the resources. If you go to Waondo in Suba North, which was a very quiet sleeping village, right now it's a buzz with students. People are building a structure so that students can live in, because there's not much accommodation. There are women who are supplying food to the institution. Economic activities are an all-time high. And Madam Speaker, when you have big institutions like that, it just changes the face of a place. And now wherever I go in Suba North, every village I go, they're asking for a TTI or a KMTC. Why? Because they've seen how it has potential to just change the economic fortunes. Because the students will come from way beyond Suba North. We have students who are coming even from Mombasa to change the local economy. So I would want to urge the committee, the Special Funds Committee, to consider working with the board that there are special circumstances that may require that funds are allocated piecemeal. Because if you are talking about equity, for instance, and the CDF funds, it's not as much as people usually assume it is, because there are statutory allocations. Madam Speaker, if, for instance, one project worth 50 million the money was put in one financial year, it means in that year, other than bursary, there will be no other project that will be done. So I would want to encourage the committee to reconsider that. There are improvements that are very good, like the one on land that there is need for title. But on this one, because we want, there are areas where for development to reach it takes a while. I know our counties are doing a lot, but they don't have the mandate to build schools or to do, security installations. So for us to have a change in our constituencies, if you want legacy projects, sorry, I've seen, it's no longer Madam Speaker, it's now Mr. Speaker, lest I am accused of making you something that Mr. Speaker doesn't like. We know him, he's a proponent of something which I do not want to mention, one as a Christian and one as a human rights activist, which puts me right in the middle of what you don't like. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to say that based on that, I would want to encourage the committee to have a special attention on special projects. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the other issue that I'd want to speak to is the issue of, because as MPs we do oversight, and sometimes when you do oversight, you discover that there are people, like maybe in a past constituency, you discover that maybe a fund account manager who is employed at the national level may have not used the funds in the manner that they have done, that they were meant to. Maybe they've used overspent in one thing as against another. They should be held personally responsible, Mr. Speaker. And where such managers are willing to, I would want to encourage the board to make sure that they carry through and not to shield people who may not necessarily have stolen, but have gone against, like for instance, if you have funds for building a class and the money is used in monitoring and evaluation instead, that takes away, the accounts from what was actually it was intended for, which is not in the law, because the law is very clear. The NGCDF Act is very clear in the way the funds should be spent. Otherwise, I support the committee and thank them for the good work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. The Honorable Gitonga Murugara, you want to speak to this? Certainly not interested. The Honorable Zamzam Chimba.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kupongeza kamati ambayo inashughulikia masala ya NGCDF na NGAF. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni dhahiri kuwa kamati ambayo inashughulikia mambo haya ya kuweza kupeleka maendeleo kule mashinani inafanya kazi nzuri sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Na mimi nilikuwa napenda sana kuzungumzia ili Wakenya waelewe. Wajua vita vimekuwa vingi hapa, wanalaumu wabunge, si wabunge ambao wanafanya, kuna kamati ambayo inasimamia haya maendeleo. Hata katika NGAF, sisi kina mama 47 groups zikisha apply ile pesa ya NGAF kwa katika board, wao wanatuletea sisi check, tunaweza kupeleka tu Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini yote ni tisa kuwa hizi funds zimeweza kusaidia uchumi wa taifa ikizingatiwa kuwa sehemu kubwa ya taifa kama sisi tulikuwa katika upinzani muda mrefu, ilikuwa tupati yale matunda mengine. Mheshimiwa Spika, ilikuwa tunategemea hii kidogo ambayo inakuja katika mfuko wa ngafu ndo tuweze kuingia tuangalie maendeleo gani tunaweza kufanya. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiangalia Mombasa nimeweza kujenga kutumia ngafu ile GBV Center ambayo ndio kubwa Kenya nzima, na ni hiyo ngafu ambayo inaweza kusaidia kina mama kule mashinani. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hiyo na mimi pia ningeweza kusema kamati hii iangalie kina mama pia tutamani kujenga sehemu, lakini kupata ile hatimiliki inakuwa shida. Kwa hiyo kama kuna namna ambayo wanaweza kutuita pia sisi kina mama 47 tukakaa chini tukajua kamati inaweza kutusaidia namna gani, pia nitaweza kushukuru Mheshimiwa Spika. Na kama alivyosema mtangulizi wangu, yani maendeleo kwenda mashinani ni kuwezesha ile NGCDF iweze kushika mpaka kule chini kama ilivyo. Mheshimiwa Spika, wala wasiweze kupokonywa. Mheshimiwa Spika, itakuwa wabunge nao pia wanaangaliwa kila sehemu, wanaambiwa hapa hakuna shule, hapa hakuna ofisi za maskari, hapa hakuna ofisi ya chief. Unapata hawa waheshimiwa wabunge ndio wameweza kuangalia oversight kuhakikisha kuwa haya maendeleo yanafika mashinani. Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi napenda kusema waachiwe hii mambo ya CDF, waweze oversight wakiangalia kunaenda namna gani bila kupokonywa wala kupelekwa sehemu nyingine. Na tumeangalia Mheshimiwa Spika, kule chini hawa ndugu zetu magavana wamekuwa na pesa tena nyingi sana, lakini huwezi kufeel maendeleo yao kama vile unavyofeel maendeleo ambayo yanasimamiwa na mbunge. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hiyo mimi napigia upato hii kamati na nasema wabunge waendelee kuwa supported ili waweze kuangalia miradi inayohusika na jamii kule chini, manake wao ndo ambao wanasimamia jamii, walipigiwa kura waje bunge waje kuangalia ni mambo gani wanaweza kusaidia jamii. Na Kenya ielewe kuwa hizi pesa hazishikwi na mbunge, hakuna mahali popote anaweka signature. Mbunge yeye ana oversight tu kuhakikisha yale maendeleo ambao wananchi wamemuomba, na ameenda kwenye vikao kuangalia kuwa wananchi wanataka hili na lile liwe imetimika na wao wameweza kupata maendeleo. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
The Honorable Dr. James Nyikal, the Chair, Departmental Committee on Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the report of the committee. Mr. Speaker, I've not seen a single fund that the people have access to, like the CDF fund. Mr. Speaker, I've not seen a single fund which has as low overhead cost as the CDF fund. Mr. Speaker, I've not seen a single fund which gives equity as this fund. This is the fund that all the 290 constituencies are certain they will get it, and they get it. And Mr. Speaker, this is a fund where the people have access and control. People may not realize, but even the fund manager does not eventually control the payment out of the CDF fund. Once the money goes to the constituency and it is given to the project management committees, the fund manager is just one of the signatories. In fact, the chair of the project management committee, which is often an ordinary member of the community who happens to be the chair of a school, is the chair of that committee. And the secretary of the head of the institution, even at a primary school level, is the secretary. And the fund manager is just a signatory. I don't think there's any other fund that actually is controlled by the people like the CDF fund. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this is a fund that I think as a country, we must support, not just as parliament, but actually as a country. Whenever there are problems like in schools, this is a fund that will respond to that emergency in a school immediately and does not need the long-winded processes of government. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the work this committee has done to point out the few problems that are actually affecting this fund. And it's good they have pointed out, they have given the recommendations, like the issue of the purchase of land. Mr. Speaker, schools will come and say, the school compound is small, we need land. And they don't have to go anywhere. It's actually purchase the land, and that is within the allowed provisions, and they'll get the land. But what is the problem with actually documentation of land in the rural areas? And this is something that should go to the Ministry of Lands. A lot of pieces of land in the rural areas are actually not owned by living people. If you go into the rural areas, the land has been passed on from great-great-grandfather to grandfather to the son, and they still just say, this is our land. So the process of purchasing land in the rural areas, it's actually complex, and I think that is why the CDF committees find themselves into this problem. In fact, the process of land, where there are no land registries, and some places, people have to travel very far to get to land registries, and then to get courts. You find a place where to go to court takes a whole day, to go to a land registry is another day, and you can't get it together. So, and because of that, people just hand over land by word of mouth. Even land is sold by word of mouth. I think the lawyers that are here should actually look at how do we help our people to have titles for land. I know a lot is going on, but the processes, the registries are not close to the people, courts are not close to the people, and I think that is something we should look at, because CDF will be used a lot, particularly for schools in land. It is good this has been pointed out. It is not only with the committees. Higher purchase, I think they have formed out, really, it doesn't really make sense to buy buses, for example, on higher purchase. As the law is now, once money is in the CDA fund, in the committee at the constituency level, it doesn't get back at the end of the financial year. So you can plan with money in the account and buy a bus at once instead of getting higher purchase arrangement, which actually makes the bus a lot more costly. So I think that is something that they have pointed out that I agree with. Stalled projects, I think we should not allow this. As I said, this is the only fund that people have access to. And people are always needy when they seek CDF funds. Security people, schools. And this fund, Mr. Speaker, has made a lot of difference to chiefs. Chiefs for a long, and I've seen the chiefs, and been actually managing or running their sub-locations and locations from their houses. And because of this, a lot of chiefs now have these police stations. We have now very neat police stations. So this fund has done a lot. People think that if this fund is actually, if we do away with this fund, the money in this fund will go to the counties. It won't. This money, as we all know, comes after the Division of Revenue has put money at the national level. And I would be concerned because really, let's face it, the use of money at the counties has not matched the value that people have seen with CDF funds. And now, I think we are all aware that some governors even opposing that they should not be audited by the Auditor General. That is ridiculous. So if we want, people are thinking we want to put a fund there, that is crazy. What we are doing now, we are actually discussing the Auditor General's report, and that is the oversight that we should do, and that is really our role. As the law stands, lawyers are here. I don't see what the role of the MP in CDF is other than oversight, and that's what we should do. And I think it is the closest oversight that we should encourage. If something is working well, like CDF has worked, I think we should now look at the law and see how do we improve it, not how do we kill it. And people want to kill something which is good for the people. I don't understand why we look at CDA fund as a fund for the MPs. It's not the MPs that will suffer. It is actually the I'll accept the information.
Honorable Millie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've heard Honorable Nyikal keeps referring to us as lawyers, maybe the lawyers. So maybe I just wanted to inform him on the last issue, where he was actually asking that, that the role of MPs is purely oversight, which is true as currently constituted. But I do not understand why even the courts have not accepted the reality that there is no complete separation of powers. In most of the countries, it's a fusion of powers. And if you are talking like just I just didn't want to talk a lot to it because Honorable, I wanted to give other members. But I'm actually doing this as part of my PhD thesis, that what works, we must Africanize. We cannot be following blindly. When we have something good coming from Africa, why should we follow? Because Montesquieu from France in 1786 came up with that. Did Montesquieu know my village in Koloka Nyala in Rusinga Island? So we need to do things which work in Koloka Nyala. Yes, or in what in Rangwe? Or Moche in Rangwe. So, or Kanyada Kanyabala in your constituency. So that was my point of information, that there is no absolute separation. Even in the UK that we are following from, there is no absolute separation.
In fact, Honorable Dr. Nyikal, let me just say something Honorable Millie did not tell you. That when we decided we would be budgeting for the building of courts, I remember in the 11th Parliament, the executive said yes. But they said the money should go to the Public Works Ministry, not to the judiciary. Because the judiciary is to dispense justice, not to build. And I remember even being alive to separation of powers, and the Parliament then, this Parliament, seeing it that it would be better that money goes to the judiciary to build courts, because before money was being allocated for courts and nothing was being built anyway. We advised as the then JLAC that the money will go to the judiciary, and it is out of that, following our sitting where the current chair of JLAC, the Honorable Gitonga Murugara, was, that we told the judiciary to actually do a construction department, employing architects, engineers, quantity surveyors, and everybody to synchronize construction. So that if we were to have a pure separation of powers, then really the judiciary would not be receiving that money for building courts. It would be going to the works, department. So indeed there is no pure separation of powers. But the point that Honorable Nyikal was making, which you are distracting him from, honorable members, is also very critical. I just saw in the Citizen News today, governors saying that the bursaries they give should not be audited. Should not be audited. And so I heard Honorable Nyikal to be saying, an MP must audit, and that is the role this House currently have around CDF. The audit reports you are talking about came from the auditor. They are now before Parliament for cross-checking and for oversight purposes. So proceed, Honorable Nyikal.
Mr. Speaker, I've received a lot of information and I've been educated. But even if we say there's separation of powers, in my view, this is still separation. Ideally, if I look at, in my constituency, I look at how CDF is operating. If you look carefully, really, the deputy county commissioner has a more direct role on the management of CDF than an MP, right from the selection of the committee and the seat in that committee. And therefore, me, in my mind, even that separation has just gone further down. So, Honorable Millie, in your PhD, I think you should now look at it that even if you accept separation, then let it be known that the separation is still there, even at the constituency level. And I've indicated very well, if you look at the project management committee, the MP has no role there up to that level. So to me, if should it be that the separation is in principle need not be there, and then you can bring it out because of where we come from, our histories and so on, and our colonial history. But even if you accept the separation,